Hare Krishna. Oh, I think it's a bit loud, but I think it's okay if I keep a distance. So I'll just sing Jai Radha Madhava and then we'll begin class on the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 18, text 35. So you can all sing along. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavala Girivaradhari Gopi Janavala Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Shri Shri Radha Gokula Nanda ki, Jai Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai. Okay. So we're on chapter 18, verse 35. Apologies, I kept the kirtan a little bit short because I know time's of the essence as well. I didn't start directly on time. A few technical difficulties, but we're here now. So I believe it's, let me just find the text now. 35. Yeah, so we're on chapter 18, text 35. I couldn't find, I think the previous speakers from this week also mentioned, but I'm just not sure where the Bhagavad Gitas have gone. They're usually on the shelf next to Prabhupada, but hopefully they're being distributed, or we'll get some more in and we'll put it in the place. So yeah. Okay, so this chapter is entitled Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. So this is the final chapter of Bhagavad Gita. There's 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, and this is the final one, the conclusion, and we are on text 35. So I'll just recite the Sanskrit. So Yaya Swapnam Bhayam Shokam Vishadam Madam Evacha Na Vimunchanti Durmedha Dhritihi Sa Parthatamasi. So I'll just read the word for word. So Yaya, by which, Svapanam, dreaming, Bhayam, fearfulness, Shokam, lamentation, Vishadam, moroseness, Madam, illusion, Eva, certainly, Cha, also, Na, never, Vimunchanti, one gives up, Durmedha, unintelligent, Dhritihi, determination, Sa, that, Partha, O son of Pritha, Tamasi, in the mode of ignorance. So translation, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation, and that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness. Purport. It should not be concluded that a person in the mode of goodness does not dream. Here, dream means too much sleep. Dreaming is always present, either in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Dreaming is a natural occurrence, but those who cannot avoid oversleeping, who cannot avoid the pride of enjoying material objects, who are always dreaming of lording over the material world, and whose life, mind, and senses are thus engaged, are considered to have determination in the mode of ignorance. So I'll just recite some prayers and then we'll get to the verse of today. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you for coming to visit the manor. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here, so it's amazing. I was thinking about that in the car journey actually, and when I parked up, I don't come to the manor as often as I used to, and I've always had a reason of not being here, speaking about the Bhagavad Gita, that I've got something on or something's happening, but I made it. And then I thought, wow, everyone else is making it, like making the endeavor. Maybe I should feel more inspired and get out there and just come. So it's really nice that everyone's here seeing the Lord. It's always nice to think actually that darshan doesn't mean that we're seeing the Lord. Like we think darshan, we come here and that, we'll see the Lord. I'll see Krishna. But darshan means that he actually sees us. And he's actually really happy that, wait, I know you're at home. You're doing your 9 to 5, you're doing your daily duties, you're looking after the children. But you came all the way here to see me. And he's thinking, wow, that's amazing. So it's really nice that everyone makes the endeavor, feels inspired to come out. And so many activities are there in the manor. So, to eat the Mahaprasad that the Lord's eaten, like that. There's so many ways to engage. And one of the things that we do is to speak on the Bhagavad Gita. We speak on the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana in the morning, and in the evening we speak on the Bhagavad Gita. This is the way that Srila Prabhupada established this ISKCON society and this movement that regularly we're hearing and chanting these words of Krishna. And even though I'm on this side of the mic, actually I'm on that side. In actuality, that I'm actually listening to my own self speaking, that I may say something and actually it's like, it's not for you, it's actually for me. So like this is how we understand that when we're speaking about spiritual life and spiritual topics, it's not like like a higher being that imparting something to a lower being. It's that we're all struggling in our own ways and we're all trying to learn more and more, and that we're all connected to Krishna in some way. So we're trying to help each other out. So this is something that I'm doing for my own benefit, and hopefully something comes about that, and hopefully something changes in all of us in the room. Like that, we can take something away. So this chapter, like I said, is the 18th chapter. It's the final chapter. And usually the final chapter, it ends with a bang. Like there's something exceptional about it. I was thinking like the big things in the world right now, like in terms of entertainment, is Netflix, and there's a series, and then there's a season 1, and then they say, oh, everyone likes season 1, let's have a season 2, and then everyone likes season 2, season 3, and then we have so many seasons, and then the finale comes. How are they going to end that program? Like the program was so good, there was so many things, so many twists and turns, but how do they finish like with a bang? And this is what Krishna does, but Krishna does it in such a way that the conclusion makes you want to go back to the first season. Wants you to go back to chapter 1 and keep going and keep going and keep going, because unlike in these like modern day things of TV and film, they'll have a start and they'll have an end, but when the end comes, you don't really want to go back to the start. Only you have to leave a few years before you think, oh wait, let me go back to that. That was actually quite nice, but you don't get the same taste or the same flavor. But our understanding of spiritual life is that something that at the start, you go back to at the end, and then once you've finished it, or so-called finished it, you don't feel that you finished it. You think, wait, there's so much more to know. So that every time when we read the Bhagavad Gita, we actually come with different realizations, different understandings, different ways to improve. Life is not as simple as just saying like, oh, if I fix a few things in my life, I'll be okay. But once we fix those things, then we make another list that actually there's a few more things. There's a few more things. And what ends up happening is that life's like a graph, like it's just going, well, for those of us, ooh, okay, wrong timing for my sister to try and call me. I'm praying that it's not an emergency and everything's okay. You never know, she might be calling me saying, hey, I can see you online. No, I'm joking. But life in such a way that when we're trying to improve, it's actually just a graph that keeps going up and up and up. But it just keeps going. It's not like you finish. There's a plateau of like, you've made it. In spiritual life, we have an understanding that we never feel like we have made it, although in Krishna's eyes, we may have made it. Like, because he sees our endeavor. He doesn't see that, oh, how many things did you do, like a quantity, but he sees both. He says, you did the quantity and you did the quality, and it's not that, oh, I've done it, Krishna, I'm done. Thank you so much. Like, you've seen, I've won, like, I should be with you now. It's that, no, this person is endeavoring, and they keep on endeavoring. They keep playing the game. They don't just think that they've reached level 100, it's done. It's that there's a continual process of achievement, of trying to get better and better and better. So this is like an outline of the 18th chapter. In particular, he's talking about the modes of nature. So these modes of nature is to say that in everything that we do and everything that there is in this world, there's three qualitative kind of categories, we could say. So we call them sattva, rajas, and tamas. So we say goodness, passion, and ignorance. And in here, this verse is interesting. We're talking about ignorance. We're talking about the lower side of things. That Krishna says, okay, there's certain items. So let's just take, for example, food. That food's not just food. There's different types of food. And if we want to go into types, we can say cuisine or whatever. But then we can also go into taste. And within taste, in the Krishna conscious element or the more spiritual side, we can go into what mode is it in. So Krishna talks about that in the 18th chapter. He talks about it throughout the Bhagavad Gita, that food can even be categorized. So we have the mode of goodness, right? Like if you imagine mode of goodness, what type of food do you think would just be classed as, so vegetarian. So we've got an early win there. So something that's vegetarian is most likely it's going to be in goodness, most likely. And then refining that, is there any other type? Okay, what about passion? What do you think is more passionate? What makes you more kind of desirous? Yeah, so something non-vegetarian like meat or something makes someone more passionate. And passion means more about desire. So we're just following desire. When we're talking about goodness, we're talking about maintenance. We're talking about sustenance. The reason why we'd say, let's say vegetables in general, most of them could be classed as goodness. So goodness means that this will sustain our body and we can go through that. But whereas passion, it would be more about desire, that like I have a really strong urge for, money, fame, wealth, and so on. And there's certain foodstuffs that would make us more inclined to that. It's by nature. And then we have ignorance. So there's certain foodstuffs that you probably class in the mode of ignorance category. Any ideas? Mode of ignorance? So alcohol. Interesting, like you think, why is that like that? So the kind of subtlety with it is that alcohol, think about the way that it's processed or made, that it's something fermenting, something after a long number of years. Now, usually, if you had something that's fermented or like something taking a long time, you wouldn't really eat it generally. Like apples, I don't know, I think it becomes like cider at some point, like, the longer it goes. But it's something that's not fresh, that's not wholesome, that's not adding like the value that you think it should add. So like this is the mode of ignorance. So in this particular verse, we're talking about determination. So the reason why determination is very interesting in this chapter is that because you wouldn't necessarily think determination would be anything to do with mode of ignorance. It's like, no, but that's a great thing. Determination is always good. Like it sounds like, if you give someone a compliment that, oh, you're determined, you're so determined. It's like, wait, that's a compliment. that it's like an absolute good, but it's not. Because what Krishna is saying here and what Prabhupada is outlining as well is that even determination can be in the mode of ignorance. So the way that this works is that, for example, you can be determined to be in the mode of ignorance. It's like asking someone, please, don't sleep too much, or like, why don't you wake up a little bit earlier? Why don't you stop oversleeping? It's not, you should get out and get up and do things and like live life, right? But a person in the mode of ignorance is happy to ignore that, or is happy to be determined to go against it. So to be determined to go against good advice, that is mode of ignorance, and that's determination in the mode of ignorance. Because I'm determined to be ignorant, like to not want to follow good advice, to want to stay in my own ways. Like, for example, so it's very practical here that Krishna has outlined that there's certain activities or states of mind that make someone more in the mode of ignorance and the determination. So that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion. So like this, these are certain categories that we can think about. So let's say, for example, dreaming, like, what does the Prabhupada say here? So dreaming is always present. It can be in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. So let's say, for example, goodness, if someone was to sleep and they had more of a mode of goodness sleep, you would feel a bit more awake, refreshed, like happy, like you've woken up, like, okay, yeah, good. Like I can get on with the day, I can get on with my duties, I can try and be a better person. Like there's a mode of goodness element, and that quality of sleep or dreaming is restorative, like it's repairing ourselves. Like we go through so many things in the space of, let's say, 12 to 15 hours, that once we sleep, then we can actually restore ourselves. Like we can become fresh to do something great in the world. That's mode of goodness. Whereas mode of passion is more, I dream, I get the type of dream of desire. So like, I don't know, a car turns up in my dream. I wake up and I'm like, hey, I need to go get that. Let me go do what I can to get that because I'm dreaming about it. And it goes on and on. Like that type of dream, it just, always goes on. And it's not just a car, then it will be something else, then it will be something else. And then we always have a desire. So that's, in that way, it's the mode of passion. And finally, dreaming in the mode of ignorance is to say that someone's just asleep and has like they live a reality in their dream. Like, oh, I was really rich and famous, or I was whatever it is, but it's just that's your life, and your life only exists when sleeping, really. Like an exciting life. Otherwise, we're a boring person, but in our sleep, it's like, oh yeah, so many things are going on. That's more of a mode of ignorance because we're not facing reality. We're not waking up. We're not living life, seizing the day. So like this, is considered that the mode of ignorance is when a person sleeps too much and they don't have a real, they're not in touch with reality. So like this, and it's important to note that Prabhupada is saying that dreaming is natural, so we're not trying to slate anyone off for sleeping. Sleeping is very good, but at the right time, at the right place, and in the right way as well, like that. So the mode of ignorance, you could say that this is related to another verse, it skips my mind where it is in the Bhagavad Gita, but about that the day for the night for all beings is the day for the introspective sage. So what it's kind of referring to, you could say, is that when those that are sleeping from like the late nights of like city life and drinking and doing all sorts of things, that's actually the time that the introspective sage wakes up and thinks, let me do something with my life. There's a higher cause. Let me seize the day. So like this, sleep and dreaming is a very pivotal category in the Bhagavad Gita. Is something that we may not see so much light in, like we may not notice it as much, but it's very important. And we can note the importance by even what the secular world focuses on. Like if you see these articles on like Business Insider, Forbes, LinkedIn, YouTube even, like YouTube Shorts, anyone seen that? It's like a 30-second clip now. YouTubers can just show you a little clip and then you click on it and then you keep scrolling. Like there's so many short videos. And in these short videos, when they talk about life hacks or like how to live a great life or 5 things that millionaires do or whatever it is, they actually say 99% of the time, I'd say, is sleep. And it's probably the one thing that if you hear these 5 things to do, that's the one thing you're like, oh, I'm expert at that anyway. But then what they say is sleep, but to get proper sleep, to sleep early and to wake up early to achieve your goals. Now you may think that when I say that oh, that's the mode of passion. Like, we want goodness, we want the real thing. Prabhupada says that actually to transcend the modes, you have to go from goodness. Like, it doesn't just automatically happen overnight. Like, it's not a quick flash. It's that no, from goodness we can transcend. We have to get to the highest mode. However, or the highest material mode, you could say. But what happens in Krishna consciousness and in the life in material world is that we have to go from ignorance to passion to goodness. We have to start from somewhere, and it may not be so easy as to say ignorance to goodness. It doesn't work like that. Like someone who's sleeping and lazy, for you to prod them and say, hey, why don't you go to the temple a bit more? Why don't you do this? Why do you do it? Sometimes it's going to be like, hey, why don't you look after yourself a bit more? Why don't you get some money? Why don't you, like that? You need to encourage, you need to boost someone's ego, for example, if they're in the mode of ignorance, to say, why don't you have some passionate desire? Why don't you go out there and do something, right? But then once they're doing something and they're on their feet and they're going about their day, then it's that, hey, why don't you make it into goodness? Why don't you sleep earlier, wake up earlier, and then do your passion? And then suddenly it starts getting to a person towards the mode of goodness like that. So we have to make incremental steps to get to the mode of goodness. It's not something over one day. Yeah, actually, that point came from the class 2 days ago. So I saw it online, and I thought, actually, that's a really good point. Like, it's important to establish that we don't just go straight to goodness, that we need progressive steps to get there. So like this, it's a very well-known concept about sleep and even dreaming. Like, if you think about it, your sleep, what is it called? I forgot what the concept is, but a lot of people, when I meet people for the first time, mainly at universities, and they have some spiritual background, and they'll always ask me, have I ever had, there's a type of sleep that you could basically see your own body and like fly places or like have an outer body experience. I forgot what it's called, like lucid dreaming or something like that. And I'd always say, oh no, I'm not lucky enough to have that experience, but you could tell me more about it. It does sound interesting. But similarly, even in the mode of goodness or even getting to transcendental level, we could have dreams about Krishna. There's nothing stopping us. But it's actually, the point is that what are we doing throughout the other 18 hours of our day that we're not sleeping? What are we doing? So in that time, I was doing a bit of maths there. That's a lot of sleeping. Okay, let's say like 20 hours of the day. Let's say that you sleep. Actually, yeah, anyway. I won't get too disturbed about my maths. But what are we doing with that time that we're not sleeping? And that if we do Krishna conscious activities, like what's recommended in the Krishna consciousness movement is that we chant 16 rounds a day. We daily get a japa bag, we have japa mala, and we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 108 times, times 16. That's a lot of time. Like if I, well, not if, I've told people at my work sometimes that I meditate. I was like, oh, how long do you do that? Like 10-minute video or something? I was like, hey, there's no video around. There's only me and the beads. And that it's not just 10 minutes. It's like almost 2 hours. So like that discipline, what it does is it saturates the mind. It's like literally if you were to get the mind and just dunk it into something and then it just takes that form of whatever it's being dunked in, that's Krishna consciousness. That if you put your mind into those places, wherever you put your attention to, that's where your mind goes. That's where you are as well, like that. So that's why these are recommended practices, and as well as the things that we should do, Krishna always also outlines what we shouldn't do or what we should refrain from. So it's all equally as important. And we've been given this prescription by Srila Prabhupada about the 4 regulative principles. So to avoid meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. And in this way, we actually set ourselves up that there shouldn't be a reason why our sleep is not Krishna conscious. We can get there, but it just takes time. It takes the persistent effort. It's not a one night thing, and also we shouldn't be illusioned to think that if we had a dream about Krishna, it's like, oh my God, I saw Krishna. Maybe I should tell people about that. That's really important. But okay, do you see Krishna every day though? Is it like a glimpse? We can see it. Oh, Shri Shri Radha Gokul Nanda ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Yeah. So I think that adds to the effect that we saw Krishna and now we don't see him. So what are we going to do to see him again? Are we going to stick around? Are we going to make the endeavor? Um, so like this, even if we have these experiences of even seeing Krishna or having a dream, that we should hold on to these memories, but not in a sense of accomplishment or achievement, but actually an aspiration that, oh, Krishna went, where did he go? Wait, what can I do to try and see him more, to impress him on my mind? Like that, we have to make the endeavor. Because all these nice spiritual experiences, they're actually just an impetus to push further to actually get the real deal of like seeing Krishna everywhere, seeing Krishna face to face. Like that, that's where we really want to get to. But the endeavor has to be there. So let's see what else he says in this purport. Okay, so I'll just read the middle of the purport again. But those who cannot avoid oversleeping, who cannot avoid the pride of enjoying material objects, who are always dreaming of lording it over the material world, and whose life, mind, and senses are thus engaged, are considered to have determination in the mode of ignorance. So the point about oversleeping is interesting. I saw this quote and it really struck me, a lot. It was about this concept that there is, I think it's the, let me see. Okay. So it's about the animalistic tendencies. There's 4 tendencies. So it's eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. And out of the 4, this I think was from Chandramani Maharaj, he was saying that he was listening to Prabhupada talk about it, and that Prabhupada actually outlined what the most dangerous one was. And just on first thoughts, I would have thought naturally that, okay, the one that's most dangerous to like spiritual life or to ourselves is mating. Like it just seems like the most kind of gross activity. But actually what was said was it was oversleeping. And I thought, what? Like, okay, someone just sleeps a little, we all do it now and again. There's a late night program, you oversleep. But why would oversleeping be there with like the top that's the most dangerous? And I think somewhat of an explanation by Maharaj was that, laziness in spiritual life is really going to kill us. Like overcoming laziness is very hard. I don't know, in my reflection, I think it was because it's like you can just see the effects of a person's life, but like throughout, like being lazy, it's a real hard habit to just kick because it's not something that you can like grossly admit or no one sees it. I don't know, like unless you live with the person, you can say, okay, this guy's like, always oversleeping and they're lazy or whatever. But then it just has like such a big effect on life that if we are overly like, it's like sensuous as well in the sense of just sleeping, of not facing reality, it's actually dragging us down a long way. And it's something perhaps that's more difficult to address than the other tendencies. I thought that was just interesting on oversleeping. And one who can... Okay, so this part is interesting because Prabhupada mentions it so many times. So he mentions this phrase, lording it over the material world, or material nature. So this is repeated in the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, many times in Prabhupada's purports, but that's because that's the state of affairs in this material world. Like, this is why we're here. That's the essential tagline, like, why are we here, lording it over material nature? Like, that's our desire. We want to be the lords. And therefore we're here. So that one's a very difficult one to give up. And like Prabhupada says, who are always dreaming of lording it over material nature. That there's this consistent desire, consistent thought. And I was thinking the consistency of that thought of dreaming of lording it over the material world is that even when we fail to lord it over, it comes back to us. Like, I've had that experience in my life many, many times. Like so many random occurrences, so many struggles. And that what happens is that a struggle will happen, Maya will kick you in the face with the struggle. You'll feel ashamed, you'll feel bad, you'll feel terrible. And then suddenly the next thing comes on the agenda that, oh, how else can I lord it over material nature? How else can I become the center of the universe? But like this is the nature of the mind, and this is the nature of our conditioning, that we're constantly trying to make ways to be the Lord. Not to serve the Lord, but to actually take that place. So this is something, again, that's very difficult to kick. And okay, this is another nice elaboration. So when Prabhupada writes about lording it over the material world, he says, and whose life, mind, and senses are thus engaged. So it's even someone that is actually engaging. So mode of ignorance might sound like a person doesn't engage, like that's ignorant, like you're not engaging because you're oversleeping, whatever. But that when they're not sleeping and they're actually awake, then they're actually engaging, but they're engaging towards a certain direction, and that direction is down. Like it's just to bring themselves down, it's to bring everyone else down. It's yeah, the vitality is not there because it's just okay. I just want to be destructive, destructive to myself, and that also, you know, around there's some effect like that as well. So yeah, I was very like, I guess it was quite telling. Like you don't, when they ask you that, you know, can you give Bhagavad Gita class, and then it's a bit of a pick of the hat. Like I don't actually follow what this class schedule is, like what verse is going to come. And then when I got this one, I was like, okay, maybe Krishna trying to tell me something, that we need to work on your mode of ignorance and see how you can get out. So I think like researching this was also nice because, yeah, very very difficult state to be in. We all have the modes that are trying to dominate each other. So the three modes of nature, sometimes goodness wins, sometimes passion wins, sometimes ignorance wins. I think that's from the 14th chapter, from what I remember. But like this, we're trying to invoke the mode of goodness, and yeah, I think it's important to also look at answers. So I've heard that there's one method of trying to get to the mode of goodness that helps the most. Does anyone want to have a guess at where the mode of goodness really gets invoked? It's another one of those things that I'm throwing you off a little bit. Like it's not that, well, it's somewhat obvious, but in Krishna consciousness. So what's the best connection to the mode of goodness? Chanting. Yeah, I would have thought chanting. I would have thought so. But we're also dealing with our mind and our conditioning. Like the holy name's transcendental, nothing wrong with that. But our side, its receptivity is a bit difficult. But there's something that's really surcharged. So the point it's connected to is association. So self-analysis, but again, it's because we're dealing with our mind. That's where the tricky element comes in. That our self. I heard this actually. This is Tamal Krishna Goswami. He spoke about this example that if you have your hands tied, you can't untie your hands. Someone has to untie them for you, right? Unless you're in those action films and they untie it, whatever. But we're talking serious. There's some rope here. You ain't gonna get out. So in that way, that someone else has to help you, and that someone else is the spiritual master or guru. But in this particular case, the point that I was getting to was about association. So if you associate with someone in the mode of goodness or beyond, then you can get into the mode of goodness and beyond. So in this way, it's actually to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And we're saying this, I guess, not in like a fanatical way of exclusivity that, oh, Prabhupada's the only, but he's not the only one, but it's that we've actually got some access. We're not having to try and find someone out. We've got Prabhupada here, his books are here, and that if he is the fact that he is like a Mahabhagavat, like he is a pure devotee of the Lord, that if you read his writings, this is like even a secular concept, that when you read something, you actually connect with the author. You try and get into their mind, their thoughts, their emotions, their feelings. But like this, when we read Prabhupada's books, that's a way to accelerate into the mode of goodness. And the reason being is that there's that association or that contact with a pure devotee. So like that, that's the best way in which we can associate with the mode of goodness, by associating with someone who is in the mode of goodness and actually beyond, who's actually in the mode of pure goodness. So like this, we should keep persisting with our reading. And on that note, I'm actually just going to read a little excerpt. It's to do with kind of like sleep as well. So I thought it was interesting. So this is from Prabhupada's books. This is from Second Chance. It's a small Prabhupada book, so it's quite interesting. It's from the 10th chapter, and it's just entitled, or the section that I'm reading is called Wake Up. So I'll read this. So Prabhupada says, the ear is the most important organ for learning what is to be done and what is not to be done for our ultimate benefit. We must hear from the superior authority. At night, we sleep peacefully, unaware that someone might be coming to chop off our head. However, our sense of hearing is acute, even in the sleeping state. If someone cries out, wake up, someone is coming to kill you, we can be saved. Similarly, we are sleeping under the influence of material nature. We seem to be awake and acting, but Prakriti, material nature, is doing the acting, not us. We are being forced to act according to our association with the different modes of material nature. Although we are in the sleeping condition, our ear does not sleep, and it helps us to rise out of ignorance. If we hear from the right person, the spiritual master, and from the Vedic scriptures, we can awaken our original constitutional position as eternal servants of Krishna. The first prescription is Shravanam, hearing about Krishna. If we simply hear about Krishna, we will automatically wake up. The injunction, the Vedas, is Utishtitha Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodhataha. Wake up, get up, understand the great benediction you have in this human form of life. Now utilize it and get free from the clutches of the material modes of nature. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Krishna explains how to do this. Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Evaye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered to me can easily cross beyond it. Surrender to Krishna and be Krishna conscious. In the human form of life, that is our only business. So yeah, that was very, very telling, very interesting, very insightful. That the power of hearing, or the power of the ear, I've heard that it's one of the first kind of senses that a baby develops. That's how important it is, and that it's actually quite nice and sweet as well. That whenever there is a child in the womb, then the parents or the visitors actually try and speak to the child, and some may question, I don't know, is the child really listening? He's got other things going on. But actually, the child is listening. And in that way, there's a recommendation that if we were to try and spiritualize the being in the womb, is to actually read the Bhagavatam, read the Bhagavad Gita, read Krishna's words to this child before they even come out of the womb, because then they have a very strong chance of doing something wonderful in this life. We're setting them up for success, and they don't even know it. I've heard many times actually that, especially those that come to the movement and then they reflect on, why did I become a devotee? Like, why did I read the Bhagavad Gita? Why did I end up being at the temple? And some actually then find out that, oh, actually my parent, when we were in a different country, they were reading the Bhagavad Gita. They were actually giving me a chance to actually be here. So in that way, the gratitude flows as well. That actually, and sometimes it's the case the parents aren't even, they're actually against being Krishna conscious. They're like, hey, why are you going to the temple so much? Hey, you need to spend more time at home. What's going on? But they don't understand that they're the cause. They had something to do with it. They read the Bhagavad Gita to the child in the womb, and then they've actually made them in such a situation. But then when the parent actually sees the child, then the child's growing up, then it's like, hey, you should fulfill other desires, not just this spiritual stuff. You should do different things. Don't get too much into anything, right? So like this, our sense of hearing is amazing, the function that it has. Let me see what else he said here. And like this, Prabhupada also outlines that Shravanam, or hearing about Krishna, is the first prescription. So that comes from the seventh, I think, seventh canto, yeah, um, where Prahlad Maharaj outlines like what's the to his father Hiranyakashipu, like tell me something interesting, and like when he's explaining that these are all the processes of devotional service, that, and he starts off with Shravanam, that Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So like this, there's a reason why Shravanam, it all starts with Shravanam, because of the ear, because that this is how we can actually get out of this world, it's through hearing. But similarly, the way that we can also stay in this world is through hearing. And why is that? It's because what are we putting in? What are we putting in? Like that. Um, we obviously can be observant about what we're putting in terms of eating, but what are we doing in terms of hearing? What type of quality are we hearing, and where is that getting us? So like this, hearing is actually a very powerful method. And well, this is actually how I found this particular extract. I was searching for the Sanskrit of Utishtita Jagrata. So I heard this in one Prabhupada lecture where Prabhupada was, literally probably saying what's written in this book of wake up, get up, understand that there's a benediction in this human form of life and do something about it. Like, get out of here, do something. Um, and then similarly, let me see if I can find it. Okay, I missed it. Let me see. So one thing that I wanted to just share. Okay, interesting. I'm actually experimenting. Like, is it possible to do two things at once? And I think I got my answer. It's not. It's very difficult. Oh, okay, I found it. So one of the things that I was reflecting on was this song. So this is a song by a Vaishnava saint known as Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and this song is actually recited in Vrindavan every day in the Krishna Balaram temple. So if you go to Vrindavan, you go to the ISKCON temple, um, it's the morning prayers. So we have Samsara Dava prayers, or Guruvashtikam rather, in the morning at 4:30. But this is recited, I think, at about 5 o'clock, from what I remember. Um, this is their Mangalarti, and it actually starts off with Vibhavari Shesha Aloka Provisha Nidra Chari Uta Jiva. So Nidra means sleep. Yeah. So we know it's relevant, but let's see how relevant it is when we see the translation. The night has come to an end, and the light of dawn is entering. O Jiva, soul, arise and give up your sleep. Chant the holy names of Lord Hari, who is the giver of liberation, the enemy of the Mura demon, the supreme enjoyer, the all-attractive one, and the horse-headed incarnation, Hayagriva. So the prayer goes on describing Krishna and his different names, and I guess that's related to the point of dreaming, sleeping, thinking. Is that when you chant such a bhajan like this, like all of these names of Krishna, there's so many names of Krishna in there. We could like pick out each one, and you're like, wow, I didn't even realize like that's how many names there are. But there's so many names of Krishna in that prayer that this should actually get into our consciousness. And the way that it gets into our consciousness is that we even think about it. And when I say think about it, it's like think about the meaning of what we're chanting. It helps us to understand and to go deeper. So here, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and he doesn't just do this here, he does this with so many bhajans and writings that it's a very important point, that we're all sleeping, there's ignorance, and that we need to get up, we need to see things as they are. We're in darkness, but we need the light, and that light is chanting, it's reading, it's Krishna. Krishna is the light. Like it's said in the Bhagavatam that this age of Kali Yuga, it's all dark, like there's no hope of light, but there's actually a light, and that light or ray is the Bhagavatam. Because the Bhagavatam is here, that's why we know Krishna is here. That's why we know that there's light. You could say at the end of the tunnel, but there's light everywhere when it's Krishna consciousness. So like this, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur is asking in this prayer that give up your sleep. Like I mentioned at the start, that ignorance determination in the mode of ignorance doesn't sound right. It sounds a bit funny. Like determination sounds like a great thing. It sounds amazing. But how can it be ignorant? But like I was explaining, that determination can even be in the mode of ignorance, that when you ask someone, hey, you sleep a bit, why don't you just maybe wake up a little bit earlier, maybe do more with your life? Then someone might be so determined to say, hey, don't say that to me, I'm going to be more determined to sleep. Like someone can actually try and be more destructive to themselves and not understand that. But like this, Bhaktivedanta Thakur is requesting that give up your sleep. You've been here too long. Like one of the prayers, I think he says that we're like sleeping on the lap of the witch Maya. Like he describes it something like that, Bhaktivedanta Thakur. And that actually, hey, you're in a compromised position, get out of this place and surrender unto Krishna. So like this is his call or his plea, that we shouldn't stay in the sleep, that we should awaken, and that awakening comes through chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And nicely, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, fortunately for us, the rest of the bhajan is Krishna's names anyway. So you're chanting Krishna's names like that. So yeah, I think on that note, I'll take a pause there, or somewhat of an end. But if anyone's got anything extra to add, please feel free to do so. Correct me, I've probably made a few mistakes here and there, but yeah. Or what's your thoughts on the mode of ignorance? Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think, I don't know, that resonates with me as well. Like, I was thinking there's another way to put it. I want to put it just because it's too kind of cliche or easy. That when I say mode of passion, I was the one who said it, but like the kind of examples like, oh, nice car and house or whatever. Forget that. Let's just say passion is just activity. So let's say someone's sleeping and ignorant, and then suddenly it's like, hey, Prabhu, can you wash some pots? That's passion, isn't it? Like, it's doing something, it's physical, it's like moving fast, quick. You need some energy, you need some, like, you literally take out the passion, like, on the pot, like, trying to scrub it. Like, I do pot washing service here, and it's like, wow, this cheese isn't going to go anywhere. So, like that, the passion is there, but like you're saying, I think that's a great point, that actually to get from passion to goodness, that's a whole other thing. And I feel like my reflection on that is because some of the things that require goodness are very difficult, like consistency. Like, I don't know, like if you've been in any kind of even spiritual work anywhere, but something about like, what do you think you can do better? A lot of people just say, oh, I just wish I could be more consistent. Because we all have our good moments. Good moments come. But consistency, there's that phrase, consistency is key. So that's what everyone is looking for, and that's mode of goodness. So to get into mode of goodness, it is a high bar, but like I guess we're understanding that going from ignorance to passion is great, and from passion, we just need to try that little bit more to get ourselves to goodness. And like I said, that the easiest way to get to the mode of goodness is to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And I don't mean like you're really ignorant, you sleep all day and you read Prabhupada's books and then you go back to sleep. Like, it's going to have an incremental effect like that. But again, by just being consistent in something that's going to bring you like transcendence, that's a good bargain, right? So like what I'm proposing or suggesting is that even if we're in ignorance, even if we're in passion, and even goodness, actually, even goodness, that we just need to be consistent in that transcendental activity. So chant every day, read Prabhupada's books every day, listen every day, and then that will bring us to goodness and even beyond. The reason why I added in goodness there is because I just remembered that if you're in goodness, the worst thing that can happen, you're consistent, so it's great, but then you become complacent. And once you become complacent, you've gone from goodness down to passion, down to ignorance. Like, that's why Krishna says that there's a fight for supremacy. And it's because that in the mode of goodness, the pitfall of mode of goodness is that we can become proud. We can become complacent. This is a really nice story from what I remember, is that there was a Brahmana and he would wake up to do his Gayatri every day, like on time, pakka, like never miss it ever. And then one day he had a feast and then he fell asleep. And it was approaching to his time of Gayatri, and this Brahmin does it every day on time. And then he got prodded and said, hey, wake up. He's like, okay. And then he started doing his Gayatri, meditating, and so on. And then he thought, wait, no one's here. Like, who did that? And then he understood or realized that it was like I'm slightly like changing the story just to fit like the principle, and from what I remember of it, is that that personality was Maya. And he was like, hey, if anyone's going to wake me up, why are you going to wake me up? You would let me sleep. Surely you would let me sleep. If you were trying to trick me, why would you not just let me sleep and then feel bad and stuff? And then the personality Maya said that, no, my friend, if I let you sleep and you miss your Gayatri, you'll become humble and feel bad and then correct yourself and feel sincere. But because I woke you up, you've done it on time, and now you still feel proud. Like, do you understand? Like, it's such a crazy thing that Maya even comes like attacking in like mode of goodness situation. You think that being consistent, being on time, but that's where Maya's going to get you even more. So you have to be even more cautious in the mode of goodness. So that's why I'm saying that to cling to just plain mode of goodness, that doesn't really get us anywhere. Is that actually we need to be on transcendental, we need to be clinging onto the things that are going to bring us transcendental goodness. It doesn't mean that we become a pure devotee straight away. We just chant and read and all this stuff. Because you could do that in ignorance. You could do that in passion. Like, this is another thing that I found so strange. That devotional service can be in a mode. Like, you can do devotional service in the mode of ignorance, devotional service in goodness, passion, like that. So again, we're not going to get any like medals or brownie points for just chanting, just reading, but it's it's the way that we go about it, and it's the mood in which we do it. Because if we're humble, if we're sincere, if we're like compassionate to ourselves and to others, then all these things will actually get us beyond. But yeah, thank you so much. I hope that's okay. We've got a few minutes, and it'll take me a few minutes to move all these things for Gaura Arati. So yeah, please stick around for Gaura Arati. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Narasimhadeva ki, Prahlada Maharaja ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premananda